The colony ship Asterisk Meridian Hope Asterisk had been missing for 300 years. When it vanished, the galactic community assumed humans had failed. They were wrong. Captain James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Asterisk Resolute Asterisk, staring at the star charts that had been updated just hours ago. The signal was weak, barely a whisper across the void, but it was unmistakably human in origin. A distress beacon, ancient and fading, coming from a system that no human ship had visited in centuries. "Sir, the Council is recommending we ignore it," said Lieutenant Wei, her voice tight with barely contained frustration. "They say the Meridian Hope colonists are long dead. That the Vex claimed that sector, and we should not provoke them." James turned to face his crew. 23 humans, all volunteers, all ready to fly into unknown space. "The Council can recommend whatever they want. Those are our people out there. Or their descendants. We don't leave family behind." The Vex were a species that had dominated their region of space for over 2,000 years. They were tall, insectoid creatures with hard shells and harder hearts. They viewed other species as either useful tools or annoying pests to be eliminated. The galactic community had learned to avoid their territory. Humans had only been part of the greater galactic society for 50 years, and most aliens still viewed them as newcomers who should learn their place. The Asterisk Resolute Asterisk jumped into hyperspace, leaving behind the safe borders of known space. 3 weeks later, they emerged in the Ashfall system. The name came from the massive gas clouds that surrounded the 3 habitable worlds, remnants of a supernova that had occurred millions of years ago. The clouds gave everything a gray, dusty appearance. It looked like a graveyard. "I'm picking up the beacon," said Communications Officer Torres. "It's coming from the second planet. And Captain, there's something else. I'm detecting Vex patrol ships. At least 12 of them." James gripped the arms of his chair. "Can we slip past them?" "Negative. They've already spotted us. We're being hailed." The screen flickered to life, revealing a Vex commander. Its mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of irritation among their kind. "Human vessel, you have entered Vex territory. Turn back now or be destroyed. We are here on a humanitarian mission," James replied, keeping his voice steady. "We have detected human survivors on the second planet. We wish only to evacuate them." The Vex commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "There are no survivors. The creatures on that world are property of the Vex Dominion. They have been for 200 years. Leave now. This is your final warning." James felt his blood run cold. Property. The colonists, or their descendants, had been enslaved. He looked at his crew and saw the same fury reflected in their eyes. "We're not leaving without our people," James said quietly. Then he cut the transmission. "Battle stations," he ordered. "All hands, prepare for combat." The Asterisk Resolute Asterisk was a single ship against 12. The odds were terrible, but humans had faced terrible odds before and somehow found ways to survive. Lieutenant Wei's fingers flew across her console. "Sir, if we can reach the planet's atmosphere, the ash clouds will interfere with their targeting systems. It won't stop them, but it might buy us time. Do it." The Vex ships opened fire. The Asterisk Resolute Asterisk shuddered as its shields absorbed hit after hit. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The ship groaned in protest as James pushed the engines beyond their limits. They dove into the ash cloud surrounding the planet, and suddenly the Vex fire became less accurate. The gray dust swirled around them, hiding them partially from view. "Taking us down," Wei announced. "Landing site in 3 minutes." The planet below was bleak. Mountains of black rock jutted from gray plains. Scattered vegetation struggled to survive in the dim light that filtered through the ever-present clouds. And in the distance, surrounded by massive walls and guard towers, sat a sprawling compound. The Asterisk Resolute Asterisk landed hard, the landing struts groaning from the impact. James was already moving toward the armory. Torres, stay with the ship and keep the engines hot. Everyone else with me. 22 humans armed themselves and stepped out onto alien soil. The air was thick and tasted of metal. In the distance, they could hear alarms blaring from the compound. "Move," James commanded. They ran. Behind them, Vex fighters were descending through the clouds, searching for their ship. They had minutes at best. The compound walls loomed ahead. 10 meters of smooth metal, designed to keep prisoners in and rescuers out. James pulled out a shaped charge and placed it against the surface. "Fire in the hole!" The explosion tore a hole in the wall and they poured through. What they found inside made several soldiers stop in their tracks. Humans, hundreds of them, thin and pale, dressed in ragged clothes, looking up with expressions of confusion and disbelief. They worked in fields of strange crops, their hands dirty and their backs bent from years of labor. A young woman stepped forward. She couldn't have been older than 20, but her eyes held the weariness of someone who had seen too much suffering. "Who are you?" "We're from Earth," James said. "We've come to take you home." The woman's eyes widened. "Earth? Earth is real?" James realized with horror that these people had been enslaved so long that Earth had become little more than a legend to them. Stories told by grandparents who had heard them from their own grandparents. "It's real," he said firmly, "and we're getting all of you out of here. Right now." Behind them, the sound of Vex ground forces grew closer. Weapons fire began to echo through the compound. James's soldiers took up defensive positions, their weapons trained on the approaching enemy. "How many of you are there?" James asked a young woman. 612, she replied. "But we can't all fit on one ship." James smiled grimly. "We're not leaving anyone behind. Taurus, what's our status?" The radio crackled. "Sir, I've sent the emergency signal. Reinforcements are on the way, but the Vex fleet is gathering. We're going to have a lot of company very soon." James looked at the hundreds of faces staring at him with desperate hope. People who had never known freedom. People whose ancestors had set out for the stars with dreams of building a new home, only to be captured and enslaved. "Then we hold the line," James said. "No matter what happens, we hold the line until help arrives." The young woman touched his arm. "We'll fight with you. We've been waiting 300 years for someone to remember us. We're not going back to the cages." Around her, other colonists were picking up fallen Vex weapons, their faces set with determination. They were thin and malnourished, but there was fire in their eyes. The same fire that had driven humans to leave Earth in the first place. The same fire that refused to accept defeat. James nodded. "Welcome to the Resistance." The Vex forces hit the compound walls like a wave. Weapons fire lit up the gray sky. The battle for the lost colony had begun. For 3 hours, they fought. Humans who had never held a weapon before stood beside trained soldiers, firing at the advancing Vex with surprising accuracy. Every time a section of wall fell, colonists would rush forward to fill the gap, using farming tools as weapons when their captured guns ran out of power. The young woman, whose name was Elena, had become a natural leader among the colonists. She organized them into teams, directed fire, and personally dragged wounded fighters to safety. James watched her rally her people with a growing sense of admiration. "You're a natural commander," he told her during a brief pause in the fighting. Elena shook her head. "I'm just tired of being afraid. We all are." The Vex brought in heavier weapons. A section of the compound was destroyed, killing dozens of colonists. James felt each death like a physical blow. He had come here to save these people, and now they were dying because of his decision. But they kept fighting. Torres's voice crackled over the radio. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple hyperspace signatures. It's the fleet. They're here." James looked up through a gap in the ash clouds and saw the most beautiful sight of his life. Dozens of human ships were emerging from hyperspace, their weapons already charging. The Asterisk, Resolute Asterisk, might have been one ship against 12, but the emergency signal had reached home, and humanity had responded. The Vex commanders must have seen the reinforcements too, because their ground assault suddenly wavered. Their fighters began to retreat, pulling back toward their carrier ships. "They're running," Wei said, disbelief in her voice. "They're actually running." Admiral Park's voice came over the communication channel. "Captain Okonkwo, this is the Asterisk Hammer of Sol Asterisk. We receive your signal. What's your situation?" "Admiral, we have 612 colonists, descendants of the Asterisk Meridian Hope Asterisk. We need immediate evacuation and medical support." "Understood. We're sending dropships now. The Vex fleet is withdrawing." Looks like they decided this fight wasn't worth it. As the dropships descended through the ash clouds, the colonists began to emerge from their hiding places. They looked at the sky with wonder, watching more human ships than they had ever imagined arrive to save them. An elderly man fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "My grandmother told me stories," he whispered. "She said that one day, Earth would remember us. She died believing that. She was right." Elena helped him to his feet. "Come on, grandfather. Let's go home." The evacuation took several hours. Medical teams worked frantically to treat the wounded and assess the health of colonists who had lived their entire lives under Vex control. Many of them had never seen a doctor. Many of them had diseases that should have been cured centuries ago, but they were alive. Against all odds, they had survived. James stood at the edge of the landing zone, watching the last groups of colonists board the waiting ships. His uniform was torn and stained with blood, some of it his own. His shoulder ached from a Vex blade that had gotten too close. But he felt nothing but pride. Admiral Park approached him. "The Galactic Council is going to be furious. We violated Vex territory. We started a conflict. We saved 600 people," James replied. "Yes, we did." The Admiral smiled slightly. "And that's exactly what I'm going to tell them. Humans don't abandon their own. The galaxy better get used to that." Elena joined them, looking out at the gray planet that had been her prison for her entire life. "What happens now?" "Now?" James turned to face her. "Now you get to choose. For the first time in 300 years, your people get to choose where they go, what they do, how they live. That's what freedom means." Elena was quiet for a long moment. "Our ancestors set out to build a colony, to make a new home among the stars. That dream was stolen from us. I think it's time we took it back." James nodded slowly. "Then we'll find you a world, a good one. And we'll help you build it, the way it should have been done 3 centuries ago." As the last ship lifted off, leaving the empty compound behind, Elena looked back one final time. Then she turned her face toward the stars and didn't look back again. The news spread across the galaxy within days. Humans had invaded Vex territory, destroyed several of their ships, and evacuated an entire slave population. The Galactic Council demanded explanations. Some species praised humanity's courage. Others warned that humans were dangerous and unpredictable. But among humans themselves, there was only pride. The lost colony had been found, the forgotten had been remembered, and a message had been sent to every species in the galaxy. Humanity would not abandon its own, no matter the odds, no matter the cost. 6 months later, the colonists of the Asterisk Meridian Hope Asterisk landed on their new world. They called it Second Chance. Elena was elected their first governor. And on the day of the founding ceremony, she gave a speech that would be remembered for generations. "For 300 years, we were forgotten," she said. "For 300 years, we lived in darkness. But we never lost hope. We never stopped believing that somewhere out there, our family was searching for us. And they found us. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because humans don't leave each other behind. That is who we are. That is who we will always be." Captain James Okonkwo watched from the crowd, his eyes bright with emotion. He had lost 11 soldiers in the rescue mission. Their names were carved into a memorial stone at the center of the new colony. They had given their lives so that others could be free. After the ceremony, Elena found him standing by the memorial. "Thank you," she said simply. James shook his head. "Thank yourself. Thank your people. You survived when no one thought you could. You fought when you had every reason to surrender. We just showed up at the end." Elena smiled. "You showed up. That's what matters. That's everything." She reached out and touched the memorial stone, her fingers tracing the names of the fallen soldiers. "We'll remember them forever. They're part of our story now." James looked up at the sky of Second Chance, at the two suns setting on the horizon, painting the clouds in shades of gold and purple. It was beautiful, a far cry from the gray ash of the prison world. "Build something good here," he said. "Make their sacrifice worth it." "We will," Elena promised. "We'll build a home. A real home. And if anyone ever forgets us again, we'll find our own way back. Because that's what humans do." James smiled. "That's exactly what humans do." He boarded his ship and departed, returning to Earth with the knowledge that somewhere in the vast galaxy, a new human world was being born. A world built on determination and hope. A world that emerged from galactic ash to become something beautiful. The lost colony had been found, and humanity had proven, once again, that they were not a species to be underestimated. They were explorers. They were fighters. They were family. And they always came back for their own.